All right, Kings fans, we're here hanging out with Jim Fox, the Kings broadcast analyst. Here we are, of course, it's 9/11, but it's also Hockey Fest. So talk to me about what's going on here. This is the third year of Hockey Fest. How are things going?
It's going great. It's just a great opportunity for the fans to meet the players, and I think it's a good opportunity for the players to meet the fans. And it's that type of an event where everyone mingles and just goes around, does some autograph sessions. There's question and answer periods, a lot of things going on, just so many different things to get yourself closer to the team, and again, for the team to get themselves closer to the fans. So I think it's a great event. It is this year falling on 9/11, so of course we remember more specifically Mark Davis and Ace Bailey, but they'll be with us forever. They were a part of this organization, and unfortunately, like so many on that day, are no longer around. But we still like to make sure that they're in our thoughts, and I know they're in our thoughts and the thoughts of the fans too. So all in all, celebration of hockey and a celebration of the Kings.
There you go. And you talk about celebrations. When we look up to this point now, other than the run in 1993 to the Cup final, of course, there's always April 10th, 1982, the Miracle on Manchester. You were a part of it, and I just talked to Bernie Nichols not too long ago. He was there. About that game, though, it was, in between that second and third period, you guys were down 5 goals. And what was it really that triggered it, do you think? Was it anything said between, or was it that big hit Jay Wells put on Dave Semenko? What do you think happened there?
There's a lot of things that would have to go on to have the outcome that ended up being. I really can't pick one thing. I think that I remember skating onto the ice for the third period, and while we're skating around, Dave Lumley was one of the players on the others, but he was that type of guy. He was an agitator. He was all over it, a real good player, but he just had that little smirk thing going, and I think Glenn Sather had a little smirk. But to say that was the difference, it's just one of the things where a chain of events come together, and 5-0 down. I don't think it's going to happen again, but it happened that day. It happened that night, and then I think the important thing, or another important thing, is we won the series. I mean, it's the biggest upset in the history of the National Hockey League, because we were 48 points behind them in the regular season, and yet you beat them in a playoff series. So that game is just, maybe there are some players that can say, I remember this and we did that. I think we just went out to the third period, and we're looking forward in the series and going like a lot of teams do. Let's get it together. Let's get our stuff together so that when the next game starts, we'll be ready. And because you're not thinking about the result, things happen. And they just go and go. And before you know it, we had the momentum, and they couldn't stop it.
There you go. Now, when you talk about momentum, things happening, obviously one of the big things was when Gretzky got here in '88. That was a big time for the Kings. But now, looking at this team they're building, though, this year, when you look at the offseason acquisitions, Mike Richards, Simon Gagne, also Ethan Moreau coming over later on. And those are the types of guys, especially Ethan Moreau, those guys who seem to be hanging around when you look at a lot of the championship teams, those tough, gritty guys who give you those really important minutes in there. So how do you like the team coming into this season?
I really like the team coming into the season. I think I can be critical at times of the team, but that's my job. But this year, in all honesty, when you're talking about the players that have been brought in, this is, even though the numbers are probably we're still on the young side, I think it's time for this team to drop the youth tag. It's no longer a young team. Now they have enough guys that have been there before, along with the talent and skill that they have, the leadership that they brought in. And I also think that the Kings had some holes to fill, and they filled those specific holes. Top 6 forwards. You get Richards, you get Gagne, both top 6 guys. You didn't have to give up a top 6 going the other way, so your team is stronger. The way I look at this team here is this. If everything goes normal, nothing has to be above. If everything goes normal, they're a playoff team. And I think a lot of people say, well, that's no big deal. To be a playoff team in the West is tough.
Right.
8 teams in the West is tough. If everything goes normal. They're not a favorite by any means. Not a favorite at all. But if at the end of the year they won the Stanley Cup, the whole thing, I would not be surprised, because I can see that they have a group here that is now able to challenge. If I were to seed them right now, I'd see them 6, 7, 8 in the league. And trade deadline, you make a move, you get this here. If things go well, then you're knocking on the door.
There you go. Now, one other thing is, everybody, I've heard rumors, but Dustin Penner, how is he? Anything to report on him as far as the offseason? I heard he's conditioning like a madman. That's what I've heard. And, how about Dustin Penner as far as maybe coming along and taking a jump and being maybe what he was in Anaheim during that run in 2007?
And again, in all honesty with Dustin, I think he's still an X factor. It's something that we know what he can do. He's done it before. He's done it on a Stanley Cup champion team. He's put up great offensive numbers, great body, big guy. If he's committed and in shape, what everyone says, he's spent a lot of extra attention this summer to doing that. Then, now again, that's another top 6 we've added.
Right.
Even though we had him last year, if he is prepared and ready, then you got another top 6 guy. And that was the hole last year. The hole was just not enough scoring. Mm-hmm. Now it looks like they have enough scoring. They've proven 2 years in a row now they can have a good defensive record. Obviously, now you can see how it's coming together. Goaltending, 2 young kids who are doing it, going after it. Quick, outstanding year last year. Bernier came along. All the elements needed are now in place. I assume you still need a little bit more experience getting by a first round and going on, but who knows?
Just one last thing, and that is Anze Kopitar injury later in the season. Any report on how his rehab is going? Is he going to be ready on opening day, really?
He's going to be ready, as far as I'm aware. Everything I've been told, he's ahead of schedule, those types of things. Having said that, as I look at the team, I would not expect him to be 100% until Christmas.
Okay.
I'm talking about, he'll play in the games, but I think it's going to take a couple of months at least before he says, you know what, I'm not even thinking about it anymore. I hope that's not the case, but if I were the Kings, I'd be preparing for that. I've talked to the general manager, Dean Lombardi. I've talked to Terry Murray, the head coach. I've talked to Anze. Everyone feels great. At the same time, it was a pretty serious injury, and it might take a little bit more time. If it doesn't, it's a bonus.
All right, perfect. Hopefully he's not intimidated by that injury. And Mr. Fox, thanks for taking the time with Inside Sports. No one puts it quite as eloquently as you do.
Well, thank you very much.